Have you ever been humiliated? Have they ever looked upon you with pity? Have they laughed at your situation? Have they spoken behind your back that you would never leave that pit? Then pay close attention to what I am going to tell you now, because today, at 20 hours, God has decreed something over your life that will completely change the way these people perceive you. God said, your identity as a king, your identity as a queen, will humiliate those who saw you in misery. It is not vengeance, it is restoration. And this restoration has a scheduled hour. If you clicked on this video, it was not by chance. Stay until the end, because what I'm going to reveal to you here will shake your soul. I know what you are feeling. I know because millions of Brazilians feel the same thing. You wake up in the morning, look at the ceiling, and even before getting out of bed, you already feel a weight. It is not laziness. It is the weight of carrying a life that seems stuck. You work, you strive, you do everything right, but it seems the result never comes in the same proportion. And that is not the worst part. The worst is when the people around you, those who should support you, look at you as if you were less, as if your difficult phase defined who you are. There are people who have stopped calling you. There are people who have changed their tone of voice when speaking to you. There are people who have already decided that you are a lost cause. That sister-in-law who makes comments at the Sunday lunch table. That neighbor who looks down on you. That relative who asks about your affairs only to have a subject for gossip later. You know what I am talking about, and it hurts. It hurts in the depths of the soul. It hurts because you know who you are inside. You know your value. You know the effort you make every day. But the world seems not to see. It seems that the more you try, the more invisible you become. You feel something growing inside your chest. It is not anger. It is a silent certainty that this phase will pass. But at the same time, that anguish hits of not knowing when. And it is precisely this conflict that reveals something about you. This tension between what you live on the outside and what you feel on the inside has a profound spiritual meaning that most ignore. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, the manual of those chosen by God to protect the family. This material was created exactly for those at this point, feeling that there is a greater calling behind the pain, but without being able to decipher what God is trying to say. The link is in the description of the video and pinned in the comments. Thousands of people have already accessed it and written to me telling how the understanding of their spiritual role transformed not only their lives but their entire family. This content may be taken down at any moment. Do not let this calling pass. Access it now. And if this message is already moving you, comment below, "I accept my identity." This comment is your first declaration of faith. Now let us go deeper, because what I am going to reveal to you now changes everything. Do you know why it seems that everything is stuck? Why the doors close? Why people abandon you precisely when you need them most? The answer is not in the economy. It is not in the labor market. It is not in your education. It is in your spiritual identity. The Bible speaks of a principle that most Christians completely ignore. In 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, it is written that we are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, an holy nation, a peculiar people. Royal priesthood. You are not just anyone. You carry the blood of spiritual royalty. But the problem is that the enemy knows this, and his strategy is sophisticated. He does not come with horns and a trident. He comes with thoughts. He comes with doubt. He comes through that internal voice that repeats, "You are nothing. You do not deserve it. Look at the size of your problem. Do you really think you will get out of this?" This voice is not yours. It is the voice of one who wants to keep you far from your true position. The strategy of the enemy is not to destroy you physically. It is to make you forget who you are. When you forget your identity, you accept crumbs. When you forget that you are a son of the king, you behave like a slave. And then people treat you like a slave, not because you are one, but because you stopped behaving like an heir. And the saddest part is that this happens so gradually that you do not even notice. You give in little by little. You accept less and less. You get used to a life that has nothing to do with what God planned. And science confirms this. Researchers from Stanford discovered that the way a person defines themselves alters brain chemistry. When you see yourself as defeated, cortisol rises, energy drops, decisions worsen. But when you activate an identity of purpose and value, dopamine and serotonin come into action. You think better, act better, attract better results. Science confirming what Proverbs 23 already said, "For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he." And if you are understanding the gravity of this, the weight that your own mind carries over your future, then pay attention now. Because your situation will not change until the identity that operates within you changes first. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, the manual of those chosen by God to protect the family. In it, I deepen exactly how to break with the mentality that imprisons you and activate the identity that God has already decreed over your life. The link is in the description and in the comments. Access it while it is still available. Now look at what the Bible reveals. There is a pattern that repeats in the life of every great man and woman of God. All, without exception, went through a period of humiliation before exaltation. It is what I call the pattern of inverted identity, and when you understand this pattern, you will never look at your situation the same way again. If you are enjoying this, leave a like now. This helps immensely to spread this message. Joseph of Egypt is the clearest example. He was the favorite son of Jacob. He had a special tunic, he had prophetic dreams, and his brothers hated him. Not for something he did wrong, but for what he represented. Joseph's identity was bothersome. And when something in you bothers the people around you without you having done anything, pay attention. This is a sign of a calling. Joseph was thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, taken to Egypt, falsely accused, imprisoned. There were 13 years of humiliation, 13 years in which everything said that God had forgotten him. But at no moment did Joseph lose the consciousness of who he was. He continued acting as someone who knew his value. And when Pharaoh needed an interpretation for a dream, it was Joseph who was called. In a single day, he left the prison and became governor of Egypt, the second most powerful person in the world at that time. And when the brothers appeared before him years later, asking for food, they did not recognize him. Joseph's identity had manifested completely. He was no longer the boy from the pit. He was the man of the palace. And they bowed before him, exactly as the dreams had shown. But there is a detail in this story that almost no one mentions, a detail that will make you see your own situation with other eyes. Before being promoted, Joseph was forgotten. He interpreted the dream of the cupbearer in prison and asked to be remembered. He asked for a simple favor, "Remember me when everything gets better for you," but the cupbearer forgot. He left the prison, returned to the good life, and simply erased Joseph from his memory. For 2 whole years, 730 days, 2 harvests, 2 rainy seasons, Joseph remained imprisoned, waiting for a promise that seemed to have died. Imagine what was going through his head. I did my part, I helped that man, I trusted that God would use that situation, and nothing happened. I know you know this feeling. You have already helped someone who later turned their back. You have already done the right thing and received nothing in return. You have already trusted and felt betrayed. But God did not forget. He was using that time to prepare the perfect scenario. Because when Joseph was finally called, it was not to interpret just any dream. It was the dream of Pharaoh. If he had been released 2 years earlier, he would have left as a common man. But God held him until the moment when the exit would be extraordinary. Perhaps God is holding you now. Not because he forgot you, but because your exit will be so grand that it will silence everyone who doubted. The same thing happened with David, despised by his own family. When Samuel arrived at the house of Jesse to anoint the future king, no one called David. He was in the field, tending sheep, forgotten, invisible, insignificant in the eyes of all, but not in the eyes of God. Because God looks at the heart, and God saw in David something that no one could see. And David became the greatest king of Israel, the man after God's own heart. The one whom no one wanted in the room was the one God chose for the throne. This is happening to you now. You are in the field. You are doing the work that no one sees. You are enduring in silence. But the anointing already has your name. And when the moment arrives, those who ignored you will have to recognize God was with this person the whole time. Now I need to ask you a serious question. Have you already left your Egypt, but your mind is still there? Because this is the most dangerous point of the spiritual walk. And it is here that most get stuck. When the people of Israel left Egypt, God delivered them with a mighty hand. He opened the Red Sea. He destroyed Pharaoh's army. He made manna rain from heaven. But do you know what the people did? They complained. They murmured. They said it was better to have stayed in Egypt. There at least they had food. The madness of the slave mentality, preferring slavery with comfort to freedom with challenge. Their bodies had left Egypt, but their minds remained there. Their identity was still that of slaves. And God could not deliver the promised land to people with a slave mentality. Therefore, an entire generation died in the desert. Not because God abandoned them, but because they abandoned the identity that God gave them. I know this teaching is heavy. I know it moves internal structures that we prefer not to move, but it is precisely for this reason that I need to speak. Because real transformation begins when the truth bothers. And what I'm going to reveal to you now is the spiritual mechanics that operate behind every great turnaround. The principle of emptying before exaltation. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, the manual of those chosen by God to protect the family. This material details this principle in a way that you will be able to apply in your life today, not a month from now today. In it, I show the complete spiritual map to leave the desert and enter the promised land. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments. If this message is shaking something inside you, this is the sign to act now, not later. Now. So let us go. Philippians 2 verses 5 to 9 shows the principle of emptying with absolute clarity. Jesus, being God, emptied himself. He took the form of a servant. He was humbled unto death, even the death of the cross. And therefore, for this very reason, God highly exalted him and gave him a name which is above every name. Do you perceive the pattern? There is no exaltation without emptying. There is no throne without a desert. There is no crown without a cross. The problem is that we want the exaltation without the process. We want the result without the furnace. But God does not skip stages. And if you are in the phase of emptying now, I need you to understand, this is not punishment. It is preparation. God is emptying you of pride, of self-sufficiency, of the illusion that you can do it alone. Because as long as you think you can handle everything, God cannot fill you with what he has prepared. The vessel needs to be empty to be filled. Think of the diamond. The most valuable diamond in the world is not born beautiful. It is born ugly, rough, covered in rock. No one looks at a rough diamond and says it is precious. But beneath that layer exists something worth millions. To become the brilliant stone that everyone admires, it needs to be cut, faceted, polished. And each cut hurts. Each facet is calculated. Without this process, it would be just a common stone. You are not a common stone. You are a diamond in the process of faceting. The pressure you feel, the pain, the solitude, the contempt, all of this is God's chisel transforming you. Each tear shed in silence is a facet being polished. Each poorly slept night is more brilliance being added. And when the process ends, those who saw you as a stone will see you as a jewel. Psalms 82 verse 6 says, I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. This verse does not speak of arrogance. It speaks of identity. You are a child of the Most High. Not the child of just anyone, the child of the God who created the universe with a word. And if you are his child, you carry his nature. You carry authority, you carry power, but this power only manifests when you stop seeing yourself as dust and start seeing yourself as an heir. Now I want to speak directly to you. You who are on the bus returning from work. You who are in the kitchen with your phone propped against the sink. You who are lying down unable to sleep because your mind will not stop. You who carry on your back the weight of the family, the bills, the demands, the judgments. I know it is heavy. I know there are nights when you feel like giving up on everything, but do not give up now, not when it is so close. If you are being touched by this message, subscribe to the channel now, press the bell, because each video is a piece of the puzzle that God is assembling in your life. I want to give you now the 3 practical keys to activate the identity of spiritual royalty, because it is no use understanding the principle if you do not know how to apply it. First key, declaration. Your mouth is the scepter of your authority. Proverbs 18 verse 21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. When you wake up and the first thing that comes out of your mouth is a complaint, you are decreeing defeat over your day. When you say, I cannot, I do not deserve it, nothing works out for me, you are using the scepter to build a prison. Change the declaration. Every day before looking at your phone, before seeing the news, before thinking about the problems, speak out loud. I am a child of the King of Kings. My identity does not depend on the opinion of others. My value was defined on the cross. I was bought for the price of blood. No circumstance has the power to change who I am. I am the head and not the tail. I am above and not beneath. Blessings overtake me and surpass me. Do this looking in the mirror. Does it seem strange? It may seem so at first. But when you speak looking into your own eyes, something changes inside you. Shame begins to lose strength. Doubt begins to retreat. And gradually, the true identity occupies the space that fear occupied. If you do this for 30 days, you will perceive a change that does not come from the outside. It comes from within. Because when the identity changes inside, the world adjusts outside. This is not positive thinking. It is a kingdom principle. Second key, positioning. Stop sitting at the table of the scornful. Stop frequenting environments that feed a mentality of defeat. If the people around you only speak of crisis, of failure, of impossibility, change tables. Kings do not sit just anywhere. Kings choose whom they walk with. I know that sometimes these people are family. They are work colleagues, neighbors. You do not need to fight with anyone, but you need to protect your mind. The identity of royalty is fragile when it is being reconstructed. It needs a protected environment to strengthen. In the same way that a new plant needs care in the first months, your new mentality needs protection against the voices that try to push you back. Here in Brazil, we have a strong culture of conversation circles, of chatting at the bakery, of meeting at the gate. And that is beautiful. But there are circles that edify and circles that destroy. There are conversations that lift up and conversations that sink. Pay attention to how you feel after each interaction. If you leave heavier than you entered, that environment is stealing your crown. Third key, obedience. This is the most difficult and the most important. The identity of royalty comes with responsibility. It is not just about receiving a blessing, it is about fulfilling a purpose. God placed you here for a reason. There is something that only you can do, a mission with your name. And as long as you run from this mission, you will feel empty, restless, incomplete, even if you have everything that money can buy. Complete peace only arrives when you are in the center of God's will. Perhaps your mission is to restore your family. Perhaps it is to touch the life of someone in your neighborhood. Perhaps it is to start that project you have been postponing out of fear. Perhaps it is simply to be the pillar of faith within the home, the one who does not give up, who continues praying, who keeps the flame lit when everyone else's has gone out, and it does not need to be something grand in the eyes of the world. God does not measure greatness the way man measures it. For God, a mother who prays for her children in the early hours is fulfilling a mission as powerful as a preacher in a crowded stadium. A father who works honestly to put food on the table is exercising priesthood. A grandmother who teaches her grandchildren to pray is planting seeds that will bear fruit for generations. Your mission does not need to appear in the newspapers. It needs to appear in the heavens. And there is one more critical thing I need to warn you about. When the turnaround comes, and it will come, you will be tempted to hold a grudge against those who humiliated you. The enemy will use this as a chain. Grudge is the chain that keeps the king in the dungeon. You may be free, but if you hold resentment, you remain imprisoned inside. Free yourself now. Forgive. Not because the person deserves it, but because you deserve to walk free. Forgiveness is not a favor to the other. It is the key that unlocks your promotion. As long as there is bitterness in the heart, the crown does not fit. It only fits on free heads. I want you to imagine a scene now. 6 months from now, a year from now, you meet that person who doubted you, that relative who turned their back, that colleague who laughed, that friend who vanished when you needed them. Now imagine the face of that person when they see you differently. Not different only on the outside, different on the inside, with a peace they cannot explain, with a security in your gaze they have never seen, with a prosperity they did not expect. This person will look at you and will not understand what happened, and you will not need to say a word. Your transformation will speak for you. Your presence will be the sermon. This is not fantasy. It is the biblical pattern repeating in your story. God exalts those who passed through the valley, who cried in silence, who prayed in the early hours when everyone else slept, who held firm when everything said to give up. I want to tell you a real story before closing. Here in Brazil, in a city in the interior of Minas Gerais, a man of 52 years lost absolutely everything. The business he built in 20 years went bankrupt. His wife asked for a divorce. His children distanced themselves. He told me that he ended up sleeping in his car for 3 months. The people he helped his whole life passed by him on the street and pretended they did not know him. The same ones who sat at his table, who ate in his house, who asked him for loans, turned their faces when they saw him. In that period, he felt that God had forgotten him. He even questioned if God existed. He said that on the coldest nights, inside that car, he would stay in silence looking at nothing, and it was in that silence that he heard something he had never heard before. It was not an audible voice. It was a certainty that was born in the depths of his chest, a certainty that all of that had a purpose, that the ground needed to give way so that the foundation could be rebuilt upon rock and not upon sand. But even with that certainty, he did not stop crying. He did not stop feeling pain. His faith did not annul the suffering, but it sustained him in the midst of the suffering. And that is a difference that most people do not understand. Faith does not eliminate pain. Faith sustains you within the pain until it fulfills its purpose. And he did not stop praying. Even sleeping in the car, he prayed. Even hungry, he praised. 2 years later, he sent me a message I will never forget. He had started a business from scratch. He was invoicing more than before. His children returned. He was rebuilding his life in a way he never imagined. And the phrase that remained engraved in my mind was this: those 3 months inside the car were the most important of my life, because it was there, in that car seat, in that absolute solitude, that I discovered who I really was. When I lost everything I had, I found everything I was. This is the key. True identity only appears when everything that is false is stripped away. When the titles fall, when the money runs out, when the people leave, what remains is the essential. It is the gold. And perhaps God is allowing certain things to be stripped from your life now, not to destroy you, but to reveal the gold that was always beneath the mud. When God says that your identity as a king will humiliate those who saw you in misery, He does not speak of human vengeance. It means that your restoration will be so evident, so supernatural, so impossible to deny, that those who despised you will be confronted with their own unbelief. They will see in you the living proof that God acts, restores, and does not abandon His own. And do you know what is stronger? You will not need to charge anyone. You will not need to throw it in their face. You will not need to post hints on social media. Your transformed life will be the message. Your peace will bother those who live in war. Your prosperity will confuse those who decreed your bankruptcy. Your restored marriage will silence those who bet on your divorce. Your re-established health will disprove those who were already making plans for your funeral. God does not need a megaphone. He uses the lives of His children as a message, and your life will be the loudest message some people have ever heard. Isaiah 54 verse 4. Fear not, for thou shalt not be ashamed, for thou shalt forget the shame of thy youth. God promising that a day will come when the shame you felt will be so distant that it will seem as if it happened to another person. In place of shame, honor. In place of contempt, recognition. In place of scarcity, overflowing abundance. The season of shame is over. The season of restoration has begun. And it is not I declaring it. It is the God who has never failed, who has never lied, who is faithful to fulfill every word He said about your life. If you have reached this point, until the end of this video, in a world with billions of contents competing for your attention, this has a meaning that goes beyond the algorithm. You were led here. God wanted you to hear this message today. He wanted you to remember who you are. He wanted you to stop living like a beggar when you have the blood of royalty running through your veins. Your story does not end in the chapter of pain. The chapter of glory is beginning, and those who saw you crying will see you reigning. Those who saw you fallen will see you standing. Those who saw you in misery will see you in abundance, because this is the mark of those who are set apart. They fall, but they rise. They suffer, but they do not give up. They weep at night, but joy comes in the morning. What you heard today was not just a video. It was a message addressed to your heart. The responsibility is now yours. You can close this screen and continue the same way, or you can make a decision that marks a before and an after. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, the manual of those chosen by God to protect the family. This material is for those who decided they will no longer live below what God planned. For those who understood that the identity of royalty needs to be activated with knowledge, practice, and spiritual direction. The link is in the description and in the pinned comments. Access it now, while this flame still burns within you. Leave in the comments, "I am royalty." This is your declaration before God and everyone who one day doubted. Share this video with someone who needs to awaken, because when one heir recognizes another heir, the kingdom advances. God bless you powerfully. And remember, your crown already exists. It already has your name engraved. You only need to stop looking at the ground and lift your head. Kings and queens do not walk with heads bowed. They walk with the unshakable certainty that the throne has already been prepared. Until the next video.